Well, Vince, thank you so much for taking time for this. I really appreciate it. As we start, can you maybe talk a little bit about your current role and what's within your purview?
Certainly. Currently, I'm the Director of Information Security at ChristianaCare Health Systems.
Mhm.
That's located in the great state of Delaware. We're the largest health provider in the state and the
Mhm.
largest employer. So the responsibilities are risk management, vulnerability management, incident response,
Mhm.
um, the operation of our security tools,
Mhm.
and compliance.
I see. Awesome. I talked to a number of Affinia members, and there's usually never kind of one um, unique path into the space. For some, it's they have military experience. Others started in technology and then shifted in cybersecurity. Some had background in journalism and history. So there's never one true way. So what is it for you? How did you get into this space?
Oh, I started out actually as a mathematics teacher.
Mm.
And I made the jump into information technology as a migration specialist for corporations going to newer Windows operating systems.
Hmm.
And from there, I took a role as a project manager and a business analyst.
Hmm.
And my boss was starting up an information security team and asked if I wanted to get involved. I thought it was a great opportunity. I like to learn, and it seemed like a great avenue to continue my learning.
Hmm.
So I took him up on it. Started with intrusion detection, physical security, and audits, and then I sort of bounced around from different security roles until I ended up in management.
Hmm.
Um, and from there, I love managing people. I find it from my teaching and coaching background. I think I really enjoy helping people. So I have a great time at it.
Awesome. And kind of to that point, in terms of teaching, coaching, uh, it seems cybersecurity as a space has um, become more front and center for a lot of people. There's just so much more attention on a particular area. There's so much capital from VCs going into the space. It seems, at least up until now,
Mhm.
every other week there is a new cybersecurity company raising tens of millions of dollars. So there's certainly a lot more attention, and this space is growing. And I think that creates an opportunity for maybe some of more junior professionals, either from IT looking to transition to cybersecurity, or maybe even college students looking in the space and considering making a career. So from your vantage point, what would you recommend those maybe more junior professionals? What are the top three things in your view they should focus on?
I think they should focus on getting any job they can in information security. Like, do not focus on. I know there's so many different kinds of jobs out there, and there's not. You said before, there's not just one path. Um, but it's hard to land your first position. So if you just focus on your dream job, it might never come up. Like, just take any position and then use that position to learn as much as you can and to see where you can expand within your organization.
Hmm.
And you get to that point where you can't expand any further, then look for a new position. It
Hmm.
doesn't happen in a day or a week. It takes years.
So it's kind of like get your foot in the door, find a mentor, learn as much as you can, and then see what grabs you, what attracts you.
Yes, yes, exactly.
I
Yeah,
see.
that's good advice. And be humble and be cooperative and work well with others. One of my early mentors told me, he could teach me anything about information technology, but he couldn't teach me to be a good person. That's why he hired me. That's why he mentored me. He saw a person that he could work with. So I think that's really important.
It's interesting that you mentioned that. It's almost so character is important, but also um, if someone is humble, that means they can take advice. They're coachable and they can grow into a role. Um, I think it's certainly it's not something you can learn, but something you can focus on just like leave your ego at the door and
Yeah,
have an attitude that you don't know anything or you don't know enough, and there's always more. It's always a moving target, obviously.
yeah, you can refine that. I mean, maybe you're not born with it, but you can definitely refine it and get stronger at it,
Mhm.
over your career.
Absolutely. Um, there's so much in the news these days about large companies getting breached, and of financial services, about phishing attacks, about state-sponsored um, zero-day exploits and ransomware. If you look at kind of everything, like a 360 approach, what are kind of the three biggest buckets of that you think for CISOs in general, like worry them the most?
I think one is today is cyber insurance. It's a control we all rely on to have that safety net. But the cyber insurers are getting more strict, and requiring a lot more of their insurees. So I think that's a concern. I know from our organization, there's key initiatives that have come out of cyber insurance that we must do, that were nice to haves that we always wanted to do,
Mhm.
but they're definitely driving us. They're pushing us. I think ransomware, that's going to be continued. That's not going away. It's making the criminals money, and they're going to keep at it, and that puts us all at risk. And I guess lastly would be acquisition and retention of good security professionals. We have, when we have an open position, we get many candidates. So, but to find a really good candidate, sometimes it's hard. And today, whether it's like a cloud security architect that's fetching a pretty good price tag, it makes it difficult to hire somebody.
For sure, for sure. And then kind of to double click on each one, what I'm hearing from as far as um, insurance, it's a lot of players are getting out of it completely just because they find that the risk for them, the potential downside for them is uncapped sometimes. So they find it hard even to quantify it. So they just either make the covenants very restrictive, or they just, I mean, they only insure a very specific part, and then if something comes up, they're like, well, it's not covered. So they're just trying to make the insurable instance kind of very small and very finite in scope. Number one, and number two, a lot of them just totally just close up shop. Um, is that what you're seeing as well, kind of from your end?
From my perspective, I think that's accurate. I think the players are becoming less players in the market,
Hmm.
uh, and the ones that remain are tightening down
Hmm.
their risk, because it is ever expanding. But we're lucky we partnered with a really good firm that we consider a partner. When we do our tabletop exercises, they're at the table.
Hmm.
They're helping to guide us, prepare us
Hmm.
in case there is an event. So I consider them a true partner, not just an
Yeah.
insurer.
Well, it's a, I guess you're lucky in this way because some of the members that I talk to, it seems like it's a concern that it just it, the the number of players, it's getting the forest is getting thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
It's certainly kind of an ongoing concern. As for the second one, the ransomware, um, do you think it's ever going to be solved? It seems like some of the entry points, some of the vectors of the attack, it's sending phishing emails and trying insiders to click on links with malicious payload, open PDF files or whatnot. It only takes one, but there's so much effort that's already being spent. But do you think it's ever going to get resolved with either with technology or with training, or you think it's a problem we have to contend for a long time?
I think with the right technology and training, I think we could greatly reduce the risk. It will always be there because it costs them minimal to send out their phishing emails, um, in the hopes of catching one fish. So cost effective for them. But we could train our users better, and we could look at technology. I haven't really seen a silver bullet, but I think there's things we can tighten up that can help us.
Certainly, certainly. Well, if we pick the low hanging fruit and make the attack space smaller, it certainly will help, I guess, diminish the risk in that area. Certainly. For the third one that you mentioned, we also hear that kind of finding and retaining talent is becoming a challenge. And I was at RSA a few months back, and I think there were some staggering numbers of the shortage of professionals. So, do you think it's just a matter of certification and more people getting certified and more people choosing cybersecurity as a career track through education? Or is it more kind of finding talent internally and maybe coaching them from IT to cybersecurity, or maybe from either from other areas? What do you think will be a solution there ultimately?
I guess it depends on the position. I know a lot of our entry-level positions, we have taken people internally without any experience. Gets back to that character. They have good character, and that we can train them up. So if there's a lower level position, we definitely look internally first, and then externally for that right character, the right person to fit our organization. We can train up. For the higher level positions, when you need a big gun, it takes some work. Like whenever a position opens up, if someone gets promoted or that position opens up, I dread it. I know it's going to be an ordeal to find the right person that has the skills and the temperament.
Yeah, it's, as you said, it's probably going to be a long search and a hefty price tag.
Yes.
Awesome. Switching gears a little bit. Well, at Athenia, we try different things and see how members respond. And some of our initiatives get fairly good response and we kind of run with us, and others we're very excited about, but members don't find them very appealing. So we try to listen to what Athenia members say and recommend from kind of your perspective. Where do you find value? What are some of the things we should do more of, and what we should kind of de-emphasize, I guess, going forward?
I'm fairly new with Athenia, so I really can't say. I would think that anywhere where we could gather as a community to discuss the current issues and solutions, that's excellent. Any platform that I can get on to do that is extremely helpful.
I see. I understand. And kind of in that vein, kind of to double click on that a little bit, some of the options we're considering would be more convening several people over Zoom on almost a roundtable of sorts. And other initiatives focus more on convening people more in kind of face-to-face fashion, whether kind of after work, happy hour, informal social gathering, no vendors, just cybersecurity professionals, just a way to put a name to face, ask advice, share stories, et cetera, or maybe kind of more formal dinner setting. So, but from your perspective, would you be more interested in meeting maybe cybersecurity professionals in your field, in your industry, over Zoom, for example, or someone who's local to your area and kind of easy to get to after work? So maybe
I use both, truthfully. Throughout my week, I have numerous Zoom calls that I enjoy to get on and interact with security professionals. It's Zoom's a very convenient platform where there's no traveling involved. But on the other hand, I do work from home, so to get out, I'm always looking for a good reason to get out and mingle with security professionals.
And by the way, you mentioned Delaware. What would be the closest metro area for you where it makes sense for you? If we
Philadelphia is the closest.
Okay. Well, we actually have a pretty strong, I guess, I think maybe probably every large metro area with a pretty strong contingent of members. So we're certainly planning something either for the remainder of the year or for next year, kind of along those lines. So, and as far as face-to-face events, so the three options that we're currently considering, one would be, as I mentioned, after work happy hour. So maybe Wednesday or Thursday, not too late, not to keep people away from their families and other
Yep.
obligations. So maybe I don't know, 6 to 7:30 or something like that. And again, it's meant as an informal gathering. Other specifically in like Washington D.C., Johannes, who's kind of running point in some of those events there, he said that people really responded to an idea of having a lunch instead of a happy hour. And we also have some of our technology partners that come to us and where they want to organize a dinner for maybe 15 or 20 members. And they kind of look to us for help. From those three, what do you think would appeal to you the most?
Um, I like the dinner. I like to sit down and at a table and
Hmm.
interact with people and
Hmm.
have the conversation flow around the table. I think that's enjoyable and informative.
Awesome. And uh, that's great. And kind of for your advice, what would you recommend if there is something that we don't do but you would love to see, a certain, I don't know, feature or a content that we could provide, or maybe it sounds like you participate in other venues to connect with cybersecurity professionals from other events or other communities. What do you see that you like that would make sense for Affinia as well?
I just think if you provide multiple avenues like you're saying, um, the Zoom and then the personal interactions.
Hmm.
Zoom on a monthly basis and a happy hour or dinner on a quarterly basis. I think that's tremendous.
Awesome, excellent. Vince, I know we're coming up on time. I have a last call. We do work for those executive briefing calls that members kind of, as part of become a member of Affinia, they agree to take a handful of executive briefing calls a year. And we do work with some of the technology partners in the kind of cybersecurity space. And that's why I'm always curious, because sometimes whenever the topic of vendors is coming up, CISOs usually have kind of very strong visceral reaction. So just I'm personally curious. So if you think back, I know 6 months, last 6 months, last 12 months, what are some of your pet peeves with cybersecurity vendors, whether it's too aggressive emailing or trying to book a demo or whatnot? And in the same vein, uh, which vendor, without naming names, you think in the last 6 to 12 months really impressed you, and what did they do to make this good impression?
So I would say what's not an impression is email. I personally don't read them. I don't have the time. I file them away.
Hmm.
I think building personal relationships, whether it's a lunch or a drink or a dinner,
Hmm.
um, I think building that personal relationship goes a long way.
Hmm.
I tend to do business with people that I know,
Hmm.
that I have a rapport with.
I understand. And kind of in this vein, I understand. Makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Well, Vince, I would certainly do plan to have face-to-face events, and uh, in when one is coming up for Philadelphia, would love for you to be part of it.
Certainly.
And for the Zoom calls, um, would it make sense to have more um, industry-specific events? So one for healthcare, one for financial services, one for, I don't know, e-commerce and retail, or do you think it should be more broad and be more topical, whether it's ransomware or endpoint or, I don't know, compliance or what have you?
Um, I like industry focus. Truthfully, it's healthcare is a unique animal.
Hmm.
We don't have the budgets as a financial institution might have. So I like that interaction, but I do like if the topic warrants it, cross industry, because then I see what other industries are doing.
Hmm. Certainly, makes sense. Makes sense. So we'll probably end up doing both. Eventually, we started them. We'll probably continue them in next year. The CISO mastermind calls, they'll be industry specific. So again, would love to see you for the one focused on
Certainly.
healthcare. Great, Vince. Do you have any questions for us?
No, not at this time. I thank you for your time.
Absolutely, Vince. Thank you so much for taking time for this. This was great. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.